Welcome to my channel. This is Bruce the Boss, and today's topic is the final domino has fell in Biden's illegal jab mandate. By the way, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, go ahead and smash on that subscription button. Your subscriptions go a long way with helping me and allowing me to produce more content, as well as your overall engagement on this channel and this video. So go ahead and also smash that like button if you are excited about the great news. And don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section below. I want to know what you think, whether you are for and or against it. Now, this will be my first video in about 2 weeks, maybe a little more, which is as long as I've gone since I've restarted this new channel, since the previous one been new. It's just been a busy past 2 weeks. During the week of Thanksgiving, I did drive from Texas here out to Georgia to spend both Thanksgiving and my birthday weekend, which was the same week, November 27th, Sagittarius season in the house, to spend the holidays and my birthday with my parents. So I actually made the drive out. I was not trying to fly, especially with the craziness with the airlines going on right now. But then I drove back, didn't do any videos while I was out there. Came back, and I've actually just had a lot on my mind because of the whole mandate situation coming down hard and my potential employment future potentially at risk, because I work for a healthcare insurance company who should go nameless that has decided not to back its employees' rights and privacy and bodily autonomy, but rather decided to kowtow to Biden's orders in the attempt of pushing through an illegal mandate in the hopes of getting full compliance before the court started ruling them down. And it just so happens that I got the last end of the short straw, so to speak, in terms of the mandates, because I work for my department is working specifically with a federal agency. So my department constitutes as a federal contractor because the insurance plan we handle is for OPM, federal agency. So that would fall us under federal contractor. We have a contract with this federal agency. So even though I was aware of the OSHA mandate falling really quick about a month ago on November the 6th originally, and then the judges of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals doubled down about a week later, around November the 11th, November 12th, for the private employees of 100 or more. That didn't apply to me, but it gave me a lot of hope, because in looking at the challenges, the legal challenges, as well as the opinions of those three judges in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, it laid the foundation and the framework that this could win. Now you have every leftist pundit out there saying, well, okay, we can see how the OSHA ruling got shot down because that's private. But when it comes to like the federal agency, whether it be CMS and or just federal contractors, they try to say, well, those were going to be harder to beat, if not near impossible, which is why it took longer, because you would think that if you're going to do business with the federal government should be able to dictate the terms of that agreement. And if you're going to get money, again, from a government agency, once again, if you're getting paid by them, they should be able to dictate the terms of agreement, as if that gives them the right to tell you can inject something into your body, an irreversible medical procedure. But I digress. My future was technically in jeopardy, even though I believe that we are co-creators of our reality. What we put out there can manifest itself. We do have some decisions in what happens, and we can hold our ground. And I was determined to do that too, because it was daunting, because I've also become aware, or it's become obvious, that a lot of companies are not recognizing or approving a number of religious exemptions. So even if I put in for a religious exemption, there was a really decent chance, especially if the company is hardline, all gung-ho for this policy and looking to get as much compliance as possible, could just as easily deny a religious exemption. So that was never a guarantee. But the jab, that's just crossing a line. And you have to hold the line. And that's what I was doing to the very end. Now, there was good news last week as the CMS mandate was knocked down. and by a federal judge in Louisiana nationwide. That was great. That also provided more framework for the federal contractor argument, because if healthcare workers were now exempt from the mandate, despite the fact that they were receiving money from CMS, that CMS didn't have the right potentially to dictate those grounds, it laid the foundation for federal contractors and to open the door. Now, there was another victory, but it was only for the states of Ohio, Tennessee, and Kentucky for the federal contractors. Again, I knew that that gave an open window for the rest of the nation. And Attorney General here in Texas, Ken Paxton, as well as the Attorney General in Georgia, I knew they had cases last week, Thursday, December the 2nd. I knew those, or Friday, December the 3rd. One of those. I knew that they had cases last week that were still pending. So long as they didn't mess up the argument and or their finding, we should have the same result. But it was getting nerve-wracking because my company kept putting the pressure. Oh, you have to either show proof of an initial dose of the vaccine and or have an accommodation on file by December the 8th. They kept pushing that pressure down. You have to do this by such and such date. So it was starting to get daunting, especially since I knew that there was a good chance that the company would not honor my religious exemption. But sure enough, and my supervisor even was reaching out to me yesterday, you have to get this exemption in and or have the vaccine by December the 8th. The clock is ticking. I said, no, I'm going to wait. I know that this is unconstitutional. I know that this is unlawful and a government overreach. I also know that the mandates have been losing in court, left and right to left. So I'm confident that this is going to get struck down. And then I will have nothing but Governor Greg Abbott's Executive Order 40, which was put out on October the 11th, 2021, standing, which will prohibit the company from moving forward with any adverse reactions to me not getting the jab. And sure enough, that faith was rewarded. So write it in the books. As of today, Tuesday, December the 7th, 2021, a federal judge in Georgia has now declared nationwide that the federal contractor vaccine mandate or jab mandate is ruled a government overreach and has therefore been indefinitely blocked. Yes, it worked. And I got to say, you have to hold the line. You cannot be intimidated. One of the things I love about 2020, if anything, amid all this chaos and destruction and changing of the guard in the world, around the world, is that it is waking a lot of people up to what's really going on around the world, giving a lot of people strength and courage to stand up for themselves, to fight against what is going on. In terms of the government overreach, definitely inspired by all of the protests happening around the world, even what we're seeing recently in Australia. And I was definitely determined to hold the line. What you have a lot of, I think the Biden administration's plan was to put out a law, a mandate that they knew wasn't legal, just to see how much abuses they can get away with and how much compliance they can get before it got knocked down in court, which they knew it was liable to do, which is one of the reasons why it took them so long to issue out the mandate to begin with, so long from the date of the initial press conference back in September. They knew that there was a great chance that this was going to be defeated. I guess they were hoping that it wouldn't be challenged so quickly. One of the reasons why they upped the put the due date for what it was to some degree. And thank goodness it was extended to January the 4th for federal contractors as well as private employees, to give those people enough time to have those challenges before many of them got fired. Unfortunately, a lot of people did get fired, but before the overwhelming majority of those who were going to hold the line got fired. And then you have a lot of companies that were just, and I've seen it personally firsthand, companies that will apply the pressure and say, this is an order from the president, this is law, as if it's, a tyranny, and or as if this was an order from the king that can never be challenged, and as if they have no idea of what the Constitution and law and legality is. And a lot of people like to refer to a 1905 case regarding a man in the state of California and the government's right to impose vaccine mandates. What they don't realize is that Supreme Court ruling was very specific to the state, which has been the argument made by Attorney General Ken Paxton, amongst others, as well as the opinion of the federal court judges in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, is that court case, Supreme Court case, was specific to the state, not the federal government, and not specifically the executive branch acting unilaterally without the legislative branch. It was specific to the state. That's the biggest thing there involved. They were hoping that they can run out the clock, encourage people, but they were hoping, again, to apply so much pressure on those who may not have been following things that, okay, you have this due date, you have until this time, you better get it, you better get it, you better get it, you better comply or lose your job, which is coercion at its finest and or at its worst. And they were hoping to run out the clock so that by the time this would get knocked down in the courts, damage would already be done. They got so many people to comply by that point. So shout out to all of the brave souls out there that did hold the line, did stand their ground. Now you might get some pushback to say, well, it's only been blocked. This can still be challenged by the Supreme Court, as if they have the votes to do that. And I doubt that these judges would have made such a bold move and or decision and or ruling if they knew that it was going to just get struck down on appeal. And there's a reason why OSHA suspended its mandate. They're not pursuing it any further. Why the Biden administration, this one being the oldest, by the way, so if we have any indication of what the Biden administration plans to do to fight, we would have seen it already with the OSHA ruling. They pretty much gave up on that as soon as the writing was on the wall with the court's decision, because initially on November the 6th, when the court blocked it, I don't think there was any judicial opinion given. But a week later, when the Biden administration tried to argue an emotional appeal or appeal to emotion, oh, you got to do this to save so many lives or we'll have this disaster, they got shut down really quick. They realized they didn't have a legal leg to stand on. Their only argument was emotional and fear-based porn, as if fear was a reason to evade and overreach on the law. So they gave up on OSHA long ago. They're going to do the same thing with this. They've already done the same thing with the CMS. CMS has suspended that one. So now there's no way they can challenge the federal contractor one either. And we've seen him have a history of this overreach when it came to the eviction moratorium that was also ruled illegal by the Supreme Court. This administration has a history of ignoring the law, evading the law, and not really caring, but just seeing what they can get away with. But no, Patriots, you got to stand your ground. You got to hold the line. Know your rights, fight for your rights. And while I do know that there are some states, unfortunately, that may not offer as much protection as Texas does. So again, like I said, Greg Abbott signed an executive order protecting Texans from any negative consequences from their employers as it pertains to the jab mandate. Florida followed suit as well. Florida, in fact, took it one step further. Not only do they have an executive action from Ron DeSantis, but they also have a House and Senate bill that was passed and then later signed into legislative law for the state of Florida, protecting employees from employers and opening the door for discrimination lawsuits. Texas, unfortunately, did not go as far, which is very disappointing, despite the fact that we had the introduction of Senate Bill 51. So definitely got to hold some of those congressmen accountable for not adding the added layer of protection, especially since now this is contingent on Governor Greg Abbott getting reelected and avoiding a new governor coming in and just writing a new executive order. Definitely need to get legislation down on the books. Texas, you got to do better. But I digress. If you live in a state where you don't unfortunately have that added protection, you do need to consider possibly relocating if you think it's going to fall on deaf ears regarding your local and or state elected officials and their representatives from passing some form of bill for added protection. So that's the video. Feeling very great, standing in my truth, standing in my power, knowing what is right, being willing to hold the line. And I'm still going to hold the line because I know that this isn't completely over. This will go to the Supreme Court. I do feel as though We got the numbers to hold the holds or blockades in order to completely shut down the jab mandate. And it's a shame that you have to say coded words online, otherwise risk suppression and or deletion of your content, despite the fact that you're just expressing yourself and or sharing facts. But there's the thought police we now have to be aware of and are conscious of. And it's just getting crazy, but we need to stand united, raise our voices, fight back, because the only way you can get them off your back is if you stand up, people. But that's my video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Good to be back. Good to have that sigh of relief regarding my economic future so far, but I honestly don't know. I want to retire. I always wanted to retire with the company. It just sucks to know that you work for a company that seems to not care as much about your individual rights as they do a political agenda, because again, that's all it is. And I mean, the last point I just want to say is I've been working remote since the beginning of the pandemic, signed a contract with my company to acknowledge the fact that we're working remotely 100% of the time, not interacting with any customers, clients, not going back into an office-based building. So what point does a mandate seem, what's the point of this mandate for a workplace environment when my workplace is my home? Like, really, this is definitely government overreach at its finest. Got to stand up. You got to fight back. You got to resist. You got to stay informed. I'm going to keep producing. I feel good enough to now keep producing content, but please, to help allow me to do so, again, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment on this video. This is Bruce the Boss, and I'm out. Peace.